Mr. Moderator, fellow town meeting members, we're here to discuss Article 48, the Needham Unite Against Racism Initiative resolution. Some working group members will provide background.
While a number of people in town have committed to the work of racial equity for many years, last summer, following the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis and the poor treatment of Mr. Henry that began when he was misidentified as a suspect in Needham, there was a strong surge in concern and support for this work from so many in our community. The Select Board organized a listening session in July and committed to the formation of a committee, the Needham Unite Against Racism Initiative, or Nuari. The Lived Experiences Project began and has reported their findings to the Select Board. And 7 months ago, at the October town meeting, this body passed Citizens Petition Article 17. At the time, you were clear as a body that you wanted the town to recognize that racism happens here and to act to improve racial equity in our community. We must do better.
Nuari began its meetings immediately following the October town meeting and has met 2 to 3 times per month since. Members were appointed with careful intention by the Select Board from a variety of town organizations, committees, businesses, and residents, resulting in what one committee member describes as the most diverse group he has ever participated in Needham. The group has collaboratively worked together and gotten to know each other over Zoom, in public, always recorded, while discussing issues that are challenging and difficult, and with candor, honesty, and respect. Despite the complexity of the issue, town meeting asked for a report at the spring town meeting. Nuari has made progress after concerted and steady effort, though we do not have a completed plan at this time. The group is hopeful and committed to a work plan which we expect to conclude a year from now. The Select Board consulted with the moderator as to how to bring this resolution to you. He presented 2 options with considerations for each. This selected option asks town meeting as a body for endorsement of the resolution as a whole, as adopted by Nuari and the Select Board.
The first item in the Nuari charge asked the group to articulate a recommended vision for racial equity in Needham and guiding principles that will inform future actions by the town with support from partner organizations in our community. The town retained Lisa M. Smith McQueenie, an independent consultant who specializes in community culture, diversity, equity, and inclusion work to facilitate Nuari's vision setting process. Ms. Smith McQueenie is an experienced trainer, facilitator, and practice leader oriented to integrating theory and practice. She facilitated more than 10 hours of discussion across 5 evenings, resulting in Nuari's recommended vision statement, guiding principles, and intentional practices before you at this town meeting. Nuari members agreed that a vision statement and guiding principles on racial equity are intended to help make decisions and align goals and actions with the community's values. Nuari members also believe that the vision statement should be heavily informed by communities of color who have been impacted by institutional and structural racism. After discussion, Nuari agreed the shared vision statement would include the following characteristics. It describes where we want to be as a community. It is aspirational and inspirational. It describes an outcome that is meaningful, believable, and relevant.
In addition to the time spent together on Zoom discussing each concept and word choice, Nuari members have also completed a pre-survey of Nuari membership to gather initial priorities and concepts for inclusion, confirmed working group agreements, distinguished among vision, mission, strategy, and goals and objectives, established a shared language bank, vocabulary, and glossary of terms, discussed emerging themes and focus areas, reviewed and analyzed sample statements, drafts, and formats, considered values and guiding principles, hosted a public listening session on 25th of January, and reviewed public feedback received from session, emails, and previously published survey. Nuari members were also asked to identify key areas of focus for the group's work, which they ranked in this order of priority: policing, schools, housing, diversity on town boards and committees, neighbor interaction, interaction with local businesses, diversity of town staff. In each of these areas, initial takeaways and preliminary recommendations have been included in the Nuari initial report to town meeting. Nuari will conduct more work in each area over the next year.
We know that policing is a particular area of interest and concern in our community. The chief met with Nuari twice. At the second session, Nuari members appreciated hearing the chief's vision for his legacy. Quote, "I want the community and the department to look back at my time as chief as someone who was open, honest, and accessible to my staff and community. At the end of my career, I want to be able to look myself in the mirror and know that I supported my officers while holding them accountable. I was transparent when it was difficult to do so, and that we were able to incorporate sincere criticism into impactful change. It is important that during my time as chief that we develop future leaders who will continue to follow the same guiding principles," unquote. We appreciate the chief's efforts with Nuari, the town, and his officers to make change and to build leaders who will follow these guiding principles.
Nuari members have articulated a vision statement for racial equity, charge number 1, and have begun making recommendations to the select board for future action, charge number 4 and number 5. The working group is intended to be temporary in nature. However, the work to achieve racial equity is long-term and will only be successful if recommended actions are integrated throughout the town's structure of governance and broadly embraced by the community. In the coming months, Nuari members will explore how to meaningfully engage and incorporate the input of those who have been marginalized due to their race or ethnicity, charge number 2, and how to set up structures to ensure the sustainability and accountability of this initiative, charge number 3. The Nuari working group will produce a second report upon completion of this work.
Following Nuari's and the select board's adoption of the resolution, the town manager's office sent the vision and guiding principles to all town boards and committees. The Needham Human Rights Committee has already endorsed these principles, and other committees have placed the question of adoption or endorsement on their upcoming agendas. The select board plans to host a racial equity summit to learn how boards and committees plan to include this lens in their domains, goal setting for the year, and how they will ascertain progress and accountability. A number of community organizations have already adopted or endorsed the resolution printed in this warrant. Nuari is grateful to the Needham League of Women Voters, Green Needham, the Needham Community Farm, the Needham Interfaith Clergy Association, and the Newton Needham Chamber of Commerce for their adoption.
With this article, Nuari asks you to join them as collaborative partners. These words may not be perfect. They may change in the future as our work and our efforts continue. We are in an organic process. And while these words are not forever, they are intentional and they're aspirational. They say that the working group is intended as a statement of what members collectively believe is important for our community to honor and commit to action. And they recognize that racism indeed happens here, and we want to be a part of that change. We means all of us. Committed to the work of making change and a committed learning of how each of us can make Needham a better place for all. The work of treating every person with candor, appreciation, and respect. Because we are one community. So that Needham will be a community free of racism, racial bias, prejudice, and discrimination, where our residents, our schools, businesses, organizations, and government will work together to identify the barriers to racial equity and create solutions, opportunities, resources, and support for removing them. We ask for your adoption of Article 48.
Thank you.